remember. Okay. So recently I was at lunch with a friend of mine and we were discussing what does it take to advance your career as an analyst. And I didn't really have any good points for her. I shared some general points, be detail oriented, stuff like that. I shared some history, but I didn't have a good enough answer for her. And so I started to think about it. It was like, it's not something I really thought about before. I just am an analyst. I was born an analyst. I've spent my entire life analyzing things. Like most of us in here, I overthink everything possible. I collect all the data that I possibly can, compare every option I possibly can, before I can make a single decision. For example, recently I bought a used car. I went to every single website I could possibly find for used cars. I collected every single model there was. I even had a spreadsheet for every model that I could find in the one that I wanted. And I compared all the different models. I had financial analysis for different stuff. Now I'm clicking through slides. And so I had all these detailed spreadsheets. Similarly, when I remodeled my kitchen, I had a huge spreadsheet with at least 7 different manufacturers of cabinets, every single cabinet I needed. I compared all the prices for each one to calculate which was the best price and which was going to give me everything down to every detail. This is just what I do. It's not just what I do for a living. This is who I am. When I go to parties and people ask, what do you do for a living? I'm an analyst. If I'm at an interview and they're like, tell me about yourself, my answer is I'm an analyst. Usually followed up, and I love data. Even on dates, I'll be like, oh, by the way, I'm an analyst. Just because they should know that when they send me text messages, it's probably going to get analyzed in great detail. I'm sure a lot of us here do that. What do you mean? What exactly does this mean? So I decided when I was looking this up to go to the Webster's Dictionary and look up, what is an analyst? This was the oh so helpful definition I got. A person who analyzes things. Okay, that didn't help me at all. Mystery solved, right? No. So I went and I looked up the word analysis. And this is what I got. Much more informative, longer explanation, boiled down to basically somebody that examines things to learn more about stuff. But is this enough to really make you a great analyst, to advance you in your career? If you just kept examining things and did more investigation, does that make you a great analyst? So what does it take to be a great analyst? I started to compare where I started in my career 20 years ago. I'm sure some of you are thinking, I don't have 20 years in my career, but I'm a lot older than you think I am. And I've done decades and decades of investigation and research and stuff, but what changed from when I started 20 years ago to where I am now? So one of the lessons I learned was that you need to learn new tools. We all know Excel. I love Excel. Like I said, I do everything in Excel. So my very first job in high school, I went to Office Team. I'm sure many of us have gone through Office Team, and they give you all those little quizzes. I knew Excel, so I wanted to do the Excel quiz. I do the quiz, and I find out I got one wrong. I'm shocked to find out I got one wrong. I'm so annoyed by the fact I got one wrong that I actually go and I push them, and I find out, actually I got it right. Their quiz was wrong. This is how much of a perfectionist I am, and how much I know Excel. To the point when I first started, the first thing that they assigned me to, I got coined as the Excel guru. This is a picture of Mike Myers as the wealth guru. So when I started a job after college, it was for a company called Jacuzzi, and I was a spa planner. And we had an IT guy that ran all of the data. He was the only source for data in the entire company, and he was mean. He made people cry. The first time he made me cry, I decided I'm never going to this guy again. I need to figure out how to get data without him. And this is why I learned how to write query language. So I was able to go completely around him for the rest of my time at this company. I also became a new source of data for everybody. I could write queries that basically delivered all the data that they needed to their inbox in Excel. Whereas previously, the way to get data in this company through this guy was dot matrix green bar paper. I don't know how many of you in here remember that, but that's how it was. 6-inch stacks of dot matrix green bar paper. Every every morning we were tearing off sheets and giving it to people. It was like, it's just such a waste of time to then just type it back into Excel. So I was able to retrieve all the data in Excel and in boxes. This helped me so much in my career that at some point when they did a layoff, I was the only one to survive in my team of 6 planners. So I was basically doing all the planning by myself. I've expanded this knowledge throughout the years just basically by Google searching stuff. You know, I do tons of Google searches, I watch YouTube videos for everything that I possibly want to learn. Lesson number 2, have a passion for data. I love data. Oh, now we're getting ahead of ourselves. I love data. I love what I do. You know, I've heard it say that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Does this mean, I don't know why it keeps wanting to go that way. So, it doesn't mean I get out of bed every morning and I'm excited to run off to work every day. It's still a job. I would still rather be home doing other stuff, usually remodeling my kitchen. It really wants me to get to this point. Okay. Have a passion for data. Why? This is so fun. Alright, I'm going to stay here and keep doing this. So love what you do. Everybody that I work with knows that I am the Excel guru and that I'm the one to come to with questions. And so I go through things and I love when people bring me complicated things where I get to nest functions inside of each other. Yeah, and I'd love to be able to solve those kind of problems. At one point when I was doing more of the SQL stuff, I got so starved for Excel. It had been a year since I did an Excel spreadsheet. I'm just going to leave it on that one. I think there's timing settings. I was so starved for an Excel spreadsheet that I decided to do a spreadsheet just to document how much we'd cleaned up our database. So I had things that showed the number of records when we started to the number of records when we ended. And it was part of the reason why I left that company, because it was just like, I need data, I need Excel, this is what I do. But in part of my interview process, I have a stack of documents that show what I've done in the past. And some of those are for games that I used to play. I'll go back to this one. I don't know how many of you remember Mafia Wars. I had spreadsheets that would tell me what to buy in Mafia Wars, because I wanted to buy whatever gave me the most return on investment. I also had them for Farmville in the same kind of thing. It hates this one. And I did ones for a game called Cafe World. And this is where things got really interesting for me, because I'm a geek, it's weird. Not only did I need to do the dollar per meal, I also had to feed everybody that came in the door. So yes, a lobster dish could give me the most money per dish, but it didn't feed everybody that came in the door. And so then I also had to calculate dollars per dish per head. And I literally sat there with a stopwatch, watching how many people were coming to my door at a specific time, and then did all the calculations from there. So that was when I hit real, Excel geek status. And when I talk about this in interviews, my eyes probably sparkle, and this is what really shows them that I do have a passion for data. Now we can go to number 3, be a people person. When I first started at one of my companies, I was deemed a difficult person. I was difficult to work with. People were afraid to talk to me. They would come to my cube and they'd very gingerly knock on my cube. You can imagine me as basically like a really annoyed teenager that thinks everybody else is a waste of time. I have all the answers, I just don't want to give them to you. So they would come and they would ask me questions. And I was basically turning into that IT guy that nobody wanted to deal with. And at some point, years down the road, I was asked to attend this executive meeting with the executives at our Texas branch. But I was told in no uncertain terms, you are not allowed to speak. You are here to basically sit and look pretty. I was to say hi to people, and I was to meet people, but I wasn't allowed to talk. And I was very proud of myself. I made it through the whole day. I didn't speak. I didn't argue when they said things that I knew were really wrong. I just sat there and listened to it. So I get through all that, and after that, I'm having a one-on-one with one of my counterparts that I've worked with a lot, and we're hashing out a new process. And we got into what I considered just a spirited debate. Well, he considered it an argument. And my boss found out about this, and he said something to me that I will never forget. It stuck with me this entire time. He told me, "You're so great at what you do. I love what you do, but I feel like I need to hide you in a closet and keep you away from people." So that's why I have the pretty little closet desk here. And this is when I realized I was turning into that IT guy. And this is not the way to work. Many of us introverts would prefer to put our head down in a spreadsheet and not deal with stuff. Analytical science, you're a lot more introverted. If you looked at those like personality quadrants, we're in the data side and the task side. We're not in the people visionary side. But you have to work with other people. You're trying to sell ideas to other people. They're not going to listen to you. And you're not going to be advanced in your career. And that's ending my presentation. You're not going to be able to advance in your career if you are stuck in this like little pigeonhole, and like George was talking earlier, the little box. You need to be able to branch out. You need to be able to be the person that people come to when they have questions and they need answers. One of the things too I learned in that case is to be unbiased in your data. You know, so often I was like, here's the information, here's what I think you should do, and they'd start talking about not doing it. It's like, wait, you're not listening. Because obviously if you were listening to me, you'd be making the right decision. And you're not, so you're not listening to me, so I would just get more and more insistent. And eventually, you know, I had a conversation with my vice president at the time, and it was like, sometimes we're gonna go against you because we need to take this risk. We understand what you've said, but we're gonna take the risk anyway. And that's when I had to just learn to be like, here's the information, I've enabled the decision, but it's still up to them to make decisions. So while I was researching for this and for my friend, we looked up some points. He really hates this slide. Spells to say. So some of the other points were to make sure you understand the business. If you don't know the business, you can't read the data. By understanding the business, you can actually project what your users are going to need and what information they'll need in the future. We're just going to stay there now, hopefully. Without knowing the business, you can't tell the difference between signal and noise. You know, something may look weird, but if you know how the business works, you know this is just a cyclical thing, you know this was something that you did, and you don't freak out about it. If you know the business and something weird does show up, then you know there's a problem with the data and it needs to be cleaned. The second point was to keep it simple. Einstein said if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it enough. So many of us put these like massively complicated charts and tons of bullet points, and it doesn't need to be that complicated. One of the other points I read was to tell a story, and then earlier George was telling us that's not good enough, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on that. And then the last one was make sure that you remember we are here to enable and support decisions. That was the biggest thing that got me over this I don't like people, I don't want to help you, was that my job is to help others. I'm not just here to do a job, I'm not here to show that I'm smart. I'm here to help other people make decisions, I'm here to help the business, I'm here to help enable decisions. And in closing, I just want to remind you of 3 major things, which we all learned in like kindergarten. Keep learning, have fun, and play well with others. Thank you.